Hello, hi. I call this look. We're in the middle of a heat wave. I think we're on day 2, officially. I did just turn off the fan closer to here. The other one's still on. If you can hear that, I don't think you should be able to, but the one that's like 3 feet away from me is turned off. So I'm sweating my whole butt off. It's all gone. It's gone. So this is gonna be a fast intro. Hello, welcome to the vlog where bookish bestie, the fish stingray, picks 3 gay books for me to read. Right? We did a similar thing last year where they picked 5 books, and I really liked most of them. The poetry collection was really good. That's the one I remember the most. That one was really good. And whatnot. So that video will be above in the cards. Also, Stingray's links will be below. They always are, because usually they're the one making thumbnails for vlogs, but you know, including this one. But yes, they picked 3 books this year. It was originally gonna be 5, but then I started doing this thing called pre-filming, which will come into play for one of the books, because one of them is a future podcast episode as well. But yeah, I think that's everything I have to say. They did, for when they picked books, they did say, I think The Uncommon Stars or something like that. But that one is already planned for the fish vlog, and I don't have enough books with fish on the cover for that vlog. Barely was able to find 3, right? And the only reason I was able to find 3 is because mermaids count according to them. So that is why that one was switched out with the first one I'm going to talk about. As you can see, the screen recording, instead of a screenshot, it had to be a screen recording, because of course they picked one that is already planned. That should be going on over here, so good times. The one they replaced it with, I believe, is Summer Sons, which is about 2 boys who are really close. One of them moves to another school or town or something, and then either he goes missing or dies, and his ride is suspicious. He's like, that's a little weird, so moves there to figure out what happened. And yeah, that's that one I'm going to read. I have all these on audio, I should mention. That's the first one I'm going to read, because that one's the one that I have on Hoopla that's like going to be returned in 3 days. So yeah, I would like to know also, the fish knew, because I've been bringing it up non-stop for like the past 2 months, I'm in my romance era. That being said, I'm not going to be mad about the taking of Jake Livingston. Because that's the one that is a future podcast episode for September while I'm away. So that's like one of the ones that needs to be pre-recorded, right? Also, they had just read it when they picked it out for me and really liked it. And also, right around the time they picked it out for me, I had read House of Roots and Ruin, I think it is, which my favorite aspect of it was the whole she can see ghosts and there's kind of a murder mystery thing happening with the ghosts. Right? So I think a similar thing's gonna happen here. I've been really into ghosty stuff in the past like year-ish. If you've seen the vlog where I continuously read until I find a 5-star, that was like a whole thing in that one. What Feast at Night, my favorite of last month, was also ghosty. So, you know, I'm kind of like, I like ghosty books. I've learned that. Surprise, surprise. But I've been really wanting to find a book where it's like the main character, he goes in trying to solve a murder mystery, serial killer type thing, and maybe with some romance. And then I realized, no, that's the book I have planned after my work in progress. We don't need to talk about that. But I think the taking of Jake Livingston will somewhat fit into that hope, right? So I am excited. I'm gonna ignore that it's not a romance and be excited about it. Which follows Jake Livingston, surprise, surprise, who is, I think, the one of only 2 black kids at his school, the other one being his older brother who's popular, right? So he is like just trying to live life, but also he can see ghosts, and recently he's been seeing the ghost of a kid, I think, who killed a bunch of people, question mark, and so there's something going on there. I haven't really looked much into it. I just am excited, okay? I think this may be payback for the time that I made the fish read The Weight of Blood. I think this may be payback. I think it may become everything that is my soul, and I'm fine with that. So, you know, And then the third one, the one it may fit into I think it may be romantasy. I don't know. I've read the synopsis like 3 times. I read it in the TBR video for June, and I still don't know what this book is about. Okay, which is The Darkest Woods Forest something Holly Black, which will be the first Holly Black I've read. I still haven't read, is it the Cruel Prince trilogy by her? That's like on the list of YA series that I want to read, right? It's on the list. Have I started it? No. No. So this will be an interesting experience. It will be my first Holly Black. Also, I do have to thank the fish for making it so they are all standalones. Thank you. Thank you for trying harder to make me finish series than I am. But this one, from what I can tell, there's 2 siblings, brother, sister. There's like this whole thing with like fae happening, and they are hiding, very Snow White Sleeping Beauty-esque, in a glass coffin, a fae boy that's being hunted out or something that they were both in love with. So I think that's why I think it may be romantasy, but I don't know. It's kind of reminding me a little bit of Malice. Like, I think it's giving me similar vibes to Malice, and that was a letdown, so I'm hoping. I have the ebook of that one, and I managed to find the audiobook as well, so that one will be dual read. But yeah, it's going to be a very audiobook heavy vlog, which is great because I pushed this back very far. It's exactly 1 week before this will go up. But yeah, that's it. I will update you when I start any of these books and get maybe halfway through. I don't know. I should start Summer Sun soon, but I don't know. I'm hot. I don't want to read anything. Okay, let me melt. I am nothing but melt. My ice keeps on automatically melting in my iced coffee. Okay, let me live my life. Oh, I remember when I said I was going to start with Summer Sun. I didn't. Maybe I'll listen to an hour of it today. I started with a Holly Black. I think it's the darkest part of the forest. I read 1 chapter. And then, wasn't enjoying it. Contemplating everything. Contemplating, because it was just with me reading my eyeballs. Contemplating picking up the audiobook, tried dual reading it. And then procrastinated that for the past 24 hours. So I decided now. Here's what I gathered. One, the way that it is, I knew it was going to be YA, but the way that the main character is, the high school aspect of it, we already, like, within a few pages had cattiness about how, like, the main character Hazel, like, one of her friends, who she's not friends with anymore, oh my god, was all like, hey, you should, like, hook up with my boyfriend, right? And the whole entire friend group talked Hazel into doing this, and then Hazel did it, and then afterwards they were like, how dare you do this to her? Oh my god. And so now she's not friends with him, and the only person she's friends with is, like, her brother and her brother's friend, because only men, I don't know. The way that aspect was written is really just the way I really hate YA high school type stuff a lot of the time, right? That's just not something I enjoy. And then it reminded me a little bit of my current work in progress if you mix it with Zodiac Academy or something I liked even less. I think it was an Ivy Smoke. It was a romance with a ballerina. The whole YA aspect, high school cattiness aspect reminded me of that. And then the general premise low-key reminded me of my current work in progress. So, that one, those two don't really work well together. Hear me out. 2, I didn't like that book. If I remember what that ballerina book is, I'll have to cover up now. I didn't like it. So, another example of how I don't like that done. High school stuff to be written. I think all 3 of these books are YA, and I'm suddenly very scared for myself. Anyways, speaking of uncanny, let me talk about the premise, which is basically there is a fae boy in a glass coffin, very Snow White. The whole time I was picturing Snow White in the glass coffin in Once Upon a Time. And he's been there for who knows how long, like for years and years and years and years and years, right? For as long as people can remember, for generations. The coffin is unbreakable. People have tried. It is in the part of the woods that he is where high school parties are usually thrown, right? And Hazel growing up with her brother Ben, I think, and her like had this whole thing where they like had a goal to save him and rescue him, but like it never came to be. Blah blah blah. Also, yeah, he's Fae. He has like horns. He's obviously Fae. Fae are a thing in this world. This is our world. Imagine our universe. Everything's exactly the same, except there's just one small town that has Fae, and everybody knows about it, and it's just like a thing. Like, imagine. This is gonna sound weird, because the rules of the Fae basically are they're not allowed to attack people from the town, right? Which comes up at another point, because the guy she has a crush on, who happens to be her brother's best friend, is Jack, and he's a changeling. And when he was switched out, like, the mother immediately realized, right? And there was this whole thing with the changeling's mother, like, there was this whole confrontation, and, like, there's already established rules that they're not allowed to go against anyone from the town, right? Like, you can make deals with Fae, and if the repercussions of that are bad, it's your fault for making the deal. But, like, they can't target the people from the town, and yet she targeted people from the town, so that makes no sense. Like, that's been a thing for generations. So, like, how did she think she'd get away with that? Like, that whole aspect, right? I don't know. I don't know. But, they only can target tourists, right? The Fae can. So, in my mind, imagine the originals, the TV show. Why is my brain like this? The TV show, the originals. But instead of New Orleans, it's a random small town, which I'll talk about in a second, because there's just a small pet peeve with that. But also, instead of following the cool-ass vampires and occasional okay werewolves and whatnot, the, like, morally gray character, the fun times, you get the most boring part of that whole entire universe. The humans? That's who you're following? Like, there are legit, like, fairies and fae people, and that's not who you follow, at least as far as I can tell. Anyways, pet peeve. This is described as a small town. I just have an issue with how some people, as someone who lives in a small town, in books, small towns are written, by people who clearly have never been to small towns, lived in small towns, by, like, there's only, like, 20 people in the graduating class. Yeah, that was my sister's graduating class, shush. And all this stuff. But also, like, the closest mall is 3 towns away. A similar thing that did this was the Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I remember this vividly. The first time I watched it, she complained that the town was so small, and the closest Starbucks was a town away. The closest Starbucks to me is nearly 2 hours away. The closest mall, I don't know, because the closest one shut down, so I don't actually know. It's so far away. Like, most things are hour plus away. Like, that's not a small town. That's a medium average sized town. Like, there's a small amount of children. That's what it is. And that could be explained as the fact that there's a town that has a Fae problem. There's Fae everywhere in the woods. And so maybe people don't want to have children, even if their children would be protected by the Fae rules. But clearly the Fae rules don't follow the rules because that changeling thing happened with Jack. So, right? I only read 1 chapter, and this is everything that happened in my brain. Obviously, I have issues with the book I DNF'd it. I've been talking for nearly 8 minutes about a book I DNF'd 5% into. So I'm gonna go. I am going to force myself to start some songs. I'm just in a reading club, apparently. That's also an issue. So I'm gonna start that. And I'll tell you any thoughts and opinions on that in the morning. Um, if I remember, screenshot from the fish from me talking about this book. Summer Suns. I started it last night. I've only read 2 chapters. It's like 7% of the book. Also, we're on a tornado warning with hailstorm and rainstorms, so I'm sure you can hear it on the roof. We're ignoring so that I can talk about this book very uncomfortably sitting against my bookshelf. I love how it's progressively getting louder. Summer Suns. I have talked about, I think, how it is kind of a murder mystery aspect. I immediately forget characters' names as soon as I sit down and talk about them. They're best friends. They're like pseudo brothers, kind of. The one who's alive, his parents died when he was pretty young, and his best friend's parents adopted him, right? Took him in. So also there's this whole thing which I really appreciate. As like early 20s, right? It's like college age. It's new adult. It's not YA, thank God, right? Aspect where like he's traveling across the country. I don't know exactly where, blah blah blah. But he's like leaving his whole entire support system, right, to figure out what happened to his best friend who died, like literally days before he was supposed to end up there as well. His best friend went before him. It looks like a parent suicide. But he is all like he wouldn't do that to himself. And then another aspect I'll bring up in a second. A thing that I appreciate is that he is doing this. He is moving across country, doing all this stuff to figure out the truth, blah blah blah, and also going to school at the same time. And you may be like, how can he afford to do that? The answer is apparently his parents were rich and he's like a millionaire. Yeah, like the car that he inherited from his best friend was actually the car that he bought him as soon as like he came into his money, once he reached 18, right? The house that his best friend was living in with roommates that now he inherited as well, that along with the house is the house he bought for them for when they moved there, right? So like that's just something I randomly appreciate. Anyways, about the murder mystery aspect, kind of, the thing that's going on, of whether or not his best friend died by choice or somebody else's actions. The main character sees ghosts. It tells you that within the first 10 minutes that he sees ghosts, and it's not like your typical seeing ghosts aspect. It's like they're described as shades, which the only version of shades I really know about is from Phasmophobia, so like probably not the same. But basically they're like dark creatures that reach for him, right? And he tries his hardest to push them away. A thing is that the one that is his best friend doesn't have the suicide cuts. His ghost doesn't have those marks. That's suspicious. That's weird. Anyways, they reach for him, and then if they touch him, he gets like freezer burn marks where they touch him, and he has horrific dreams or nightmares or like memory things. Like there's one example when his best friend reaches for him and he has this horrific memory from when they first both were able to see ghosts, because apparently the friend can also see ghosts, and that's why he moved there earlier, so they could figure out what was happening, why. And the main character was like, I don't want to know why, I try to pretend it's not happening, right? But now his best friend's dead, and the only way he can talk to his best friend is going through this traumatic bodily experience every time. Like it literally physically hurts him. Like there's literally blood coming off of him. Like to try to stop it from happening, he's digging his nails into his own chest so hard that like it's causing blood to come out of his chest. Like yeah, that's happening, but that's the only way he can talk to his best friend and try to get answers of what happened, right? I'm only 2 chapters in, and could you tell I love it? So that whole aspect is happening. And so yeah, him trying to figure out who his friend was, why all this happened, what happened, and trying to implant himself into his best friend's life to like figure out what happened, because also from the synopsis he's gonna start talking about revenge soon. But also I just have to give props to the fish, because I think I talked about in the intro, in the Jake Livingston, even though I haven't started it yet, um, it is a ghosty murder mystery type thing going on for that one, right? And they should know this because, and hear me out, they've already read it. Around the same time, I was reading House of Roots and Ruin. Did I talk about this in the intro? I don't remember. A main aspect of that book I really liked was the like 5-second glimpse of a ghosty murder mystery aspect, right? And then I realized that's like my own book. So like that's a thing that I plan to write. So like right uh and so the fact that they knew nothing about this book and that's what it is, mixed with my favorite book from doing this last year, which was the Courtney Gould, I forgot the name all of a sudden, The Dark blah 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 blah, I'll have to cover it, that one, like it's like that but a murder mystery and also more like new adult, right? And I'm having a good time. Anyways, this is a long update for me only being 2 chapters in. Again, why do I do this to myself? So I'm gonna go try to make progress tonight and hopefully finish tomorrow. Listen, I've been informed Jake Livingston will not take me long because, one, it's a short book. The audiobook's like, I haven't opened it to check, but Libby says 8 hours. So it may be closer to 9, but, you know, either way, it will take me less than 3 hours to read. Like, it took them less than a whole day, and they were listening at 1.5 times speed, so easy. Hello, hi, it is the next day. I'm here to tell you that last night I accidentally got to the third of the way through the book. Through Summer Suns. We'd be like, hey, Rose, how did you accidentally get a good chunk of the way through the book? And my answer is, I planned to finish it today, which I am going to do. But like spend the bulk of the day finishing it. It's gonna take me about 3 hours now. And part of that was like, I'll just read a few chapters before I listen to music before going to bed type thing, like I do every night, right? To keep my streak on Strigraph. But then I was having such a good time. Like, am I confused? Yes. Is it chaotic? Yes, but I love chaotic books. Am I having a good time? Like, the fact that the friend of Andrew's the one who's alive, and the dead one's name starts with an E, so I'm just gonna go with E. Riley was the roommate slash friend of Eli, I think. Maybe E. At one point, Andrew's like, I'm not gay, like, we weren't a thing. And Riley comes in to Andrew putting on E's clothes, and he's like, you really think this is normal, healthy, and homo, or heterosexual? Like, be so serious. That was funny. I giggled a little bit. Things are happening. The ghost has his blood now? I don't... Anyways, I was having a good time. There was meeting of new characters. I will give one thing with the audiobook. There's a cousin of Riley's whose name is Sam, but also goes by another name. And I spent a solid like 15% of the book, every time they brought up his name, they would either do Sam or like it would interchange in like sentences which title they would use for Sam. Before Sam went, when he called him by the nickname, he went, just call me Sam. So, right? So I was having such difficulty. I was like, I think they're the same person, but I don't know. But I was just laying there in bed reading a few chapters, and then next thing I knew, I was a third of the way through and my earbud had died, or was dying, so I had to stop. So I had a good time. I'm having a good time. It's even more fish coated. It's even more fish coated. I didn't save it as a screenshot or a photo or whatever, but I went on Goodreads this morning, and Goodreads, you know how it has on that side on the desktop version, you are currently reading this book, or you liked this book, here's some recommendations type thing. And it said, since you are reading Summer Suns, we recommend Icarus by Kay Ingram. If you don't know anything, Kay Ingram is a big part of the fish's personality, so that was very funny. But yeah, I'm still liking it. It's a good time. I'm going to finish it today and possibly start Jake later tonight. I don't know about that one. But yeah, that's the plan. I don't know why I'm calling this look. We're back to the boiling hot heat. I did finish the Summer Suns. That's what it's called. Last night. Good times. It's a 4.25 instead of a 4.5 because it's definitely more than a 4. Just because I did guess the whodunit around halfway through. Right? That being said, the Sam and Andrew? I remembered the dead best friend's name is Eddie. I was close with Ellie. I think that's the guess I did. Or Eli or something like that. God, my brain. Anyways, their relationship, I'm fine. I'm literally fine. I did not, there's some lines, including and limited to, not limited to, Sam, right after Riley says that his cousin Sam is not the relationship type person, and so like don't hurt him, right? He's my cousin, we're close, he's like a brother to me, all that stuff. Sam literally messages him, I think it was a text message, maybe a call, saying about Eddie's ghost being like, I don't want to share you, and it's just, I'm not gonna do it justice. I'm not even gonna try to do it justice, but just know it's like this whole thing about how he's just like still focused on his dead best friend, his ghost, all the stuff, what happened to him, and isn't moving on is the theme. And Sam's just like, I'm here for when you're ready. Like, I want to be with you, but you have to like put in effort. And it's so well done, especially with the end. In my headcanon, they happily co-own a mechanic shop together. And they're happily ever after. Thank you very much. Also, I'm pretty sure, it's never blatantly said, but I'm pretty sure Riley is trans. So that's just a thing. The curse aspect was fine. There was one point with a deer that I was just listening along, and I kind of gotten used to all the Eddie's ghost doing weird shit, and how it affects him and all this stuff. So, right, I'm just listening along as I'm doing other things on my computer, and there's a scene with a deer, and I just went, oh, I get the horror label now. Like, I get it, bestie. I am getting the fish to read it one way or another because I definitely think they will love it. It's really good. I'm recommending it to a bunch of other people right now because, you know, me and books and finding people who want book recs, and I'm like, oh, you want book recs? Here's 100. Whoops. Anyways, yeah, that's the gist. Good book, but good job, fish. You do this 90% of the time, but good job, fish. Taking of Jake Livingston, I'm going to start that in a hot minute, and I'm going to speed read the whole thing. It should take me much less than 3 hours. It should take me, if I can do math properly, about 2.5 hours, because audiobook's like 7.5 hours long, right? So I'm going to speed read that while taking notes for the podcast, because that's an episode this week also. And then update you with my only thoughts. I guess I'm not gonna update you halfway through. So my thoughts on Jake Livingston, and then edit this whole thing. So I'm fine on time. Thank you for asking. Anyways, maybe I'll like move my location for the last update because I've been just in this corner the whole time, and my back does not love it. Anyways, that's that. I'm gonna go and listen to Jake Livingston. You see, I moved like 3 feet. I read all of Jake Livingston. On top of taking notes for it, it did take a little longer than I planned because I was also taking notes at the same time because podcast. If you want in-depth thoughts and opinions about the whole entire book, that on Friday. But basic thoughts and opinions is 3.5 stars. I feel like a big part of this book is bullying, right? Like heavily. Like that's what drives the plot. Is bullying on both the main characters, the dead one and the alive one, Sawyer and Jake. And I feel like when the fish read this about a month ago, I remember them saying, hey, by the way, this has a lot of bullying. And I went, okay, I should be fine with you warning me. But it didn't click into my brain again until I was like a quarter of the way through. And really, if I was smart about it, I would have spread this out between days. This one book. Despite the fact that, like, it's a fast book. So that it wouldn't have been so bad for me personally. But that's not what happened. I ran out of time. And so I sped read the whole thing. And it hurt me mentally. It's fine. We're not talking about it. Basically the premise, what happened throughout things. I liked how it was written. It cuts between Jake and Sawyer, Sawyer being dead. I love the sounds of my dog getting in trouble. She can't not get into things today, apparently. Anyways, around 2/3 of the way through the book, up until that point, it's every other chapter, at least on the audiobook. I think it's more chapters in Jake's section, but they just combine all the Jake sections in a row into one chapter on the audiobook, which I liked. But basically, the Sawyer chapters were journal entries from before. You know that he was the one who did this shooting, and then killed himself, and is killing more people from beyond the grave, and is targeting Jake for some reason, right? And so you're learning about his mental health, his family life, the bullying that he went through, along with other stuff. Listen, when he did kill the uncle, did I giggle? Yes. When he shot the uncle in the kneecap, did I dance a little bit? Yes. We don't need to talk about it. I did message that to the fish, and the fish went, ha ha ha. Because that is me coded. Anyways, and then it eventually it catches up with the journal entries and Jake reading the journal entries. And then the rest of the Sawyer chapters are basically him current day and low-key possessing Jake. The cute little romance in there between Jake and Alistair, yay. I wish there was more about Jake's family and coming to terms with everything that had happened in the past and how that affects Jake now. Because it's kind of like paralleling Sawyer's experiences. Basically, Sawyer's side is the confluence of all of that, leading to what happened and the and like how even as a ghost he can't let it go and all this stuff, right? And so basically, it's Jake trying not to reach that point. And yeah. I wish there was more about the family recognizing this. Like Benji, a little bit, the brother does a little bit more than I expected, but like also talks about how he's still gonna like pretend that he doesn't know him at school, which is weird. Like, no. And then the mother just like cries to him about her issues, kind of. She like apologizes for the things that happened and how she didn't help him, but then was like, but also it happened to me. And it felt a little icky. It felt a little icky. And he just immediately forgave her and then moved on with his life. But, you know, he's got like actual support system in his friends now, right? And that's the main difference. So, I think that's all I've got to say. Oh, the fact that the author, he made Jake's homophobic, racist bully who plays football named Chad is hilarious. Thank you very much. I did laugh at that. Also, I would like everyone to know Jake is right in not wanting to read The Great Gatsby, not willing to read The Great Gatsby for high school language arts class, because reading about rich white boys, men in the 60s, not fun. Like, I didn't like it both times I read it, so you in the right, my dude. Anyways, 3.5 stars. It was well written and I liked it. I just wish I had spread it out between more days for my own mental health, and that's fine. I do recommend if you can handle it. And that's the end of the vlog. I have to go speed edit this whole thing because it's like past, I was gonna say it's past 5 p.m. It's 6:30. Oh, whoops. Okay. I'm gonna go edit this bad boy. Podcast link below, YouTube and Spotify. It's also on Apple Podcasts. Me also Fridays here, video games, streams, re-uploaded. That's everything. Goodbye. Thank you for coming.